Ladies and Germans, how are you all doing today? This is Con Over coming to you with another Company of Heroes 1v1. This game's being played as we speak. So I just want to quickly go through the players real quick. Of course, the map itself is some musky. You can tell, though, it is not winter, obviously, because there is no snow on the ground. And there's a lovely little pond. There's a lovely little pond again. So spawning over here in the east, playing the OKW, are the forces of Gyunwoo. And he asks if you can woo, can you? So he's bringing along Special Operations Doctrine, Scavenge Doctrine, and Fortifications Doctrine. He's going to go very, very quickly into the standard build, the Kubelwagen and then Volksgrenadiers. His opponent on the western side of this map, in the lovely, lovely purple, is the USF Lucky Strike. So Lucky Strike is bringing along Mechanized Company. You see them every now and again. Heavy Cav Company, always a goodie to be seen, and Rifle Company, not that often, but at the same time those Easy 8s can definitely give you a good bit of firepower in the late game. I am curious to see whether or not the American players are going to play straight meta. As you guys all know, we have Winter Balance coming out within the next couple of weeks here. I'm very, very sorry I haven't been able to get you into those games. I haven't gotten the patch to work, and I cannot figure out why for the life of me. But we'll see in the meantime, though, that Lucky Strike seems to be just opening up with just 2 riflemen and the rear echelon troops. He's going to definitely need more than that to push back the initial kind of German build. I mean, these Sturmpires, for example, are going to easily carve up those rear echelons. There's that 3rd Rifleman squad, and there is a 2nd Volksgrenadier squad for Gyunwoo. Middle part of the map that we're going to see pretty much happen as we kind of usually expect it. These Volksgrens are going to sit up in this house right here, bunker up. We just kind of put some damage out on the American squad as much as possible. And Lucky Strike falls back just before taking the point, but the rear echelons look like they're going to put themselves in the line of fire so they can make sure that gets taken. And they do, and in the meantime, their brethren are diving into this church. They're going to get down on their knees, say their rosaries, and hopefully stay out of the line of fire for the time being. Germans not seem too concerned about pushing the envelope on that one. Instead, they're going to put the Kubelwagen up to the north. And this will be a decent fight, at least early on, for the Kubelwagen, until the riflemen, of course, get into this garrison. And at that point, you will see the little jeep there kind of deflected, to say the least. And it looks like we are, in fact, going to see a meta opening from the Americans. It'll be interesting to see if Gyunwoo can recover from this. Because the mortar on this map is honestly surprisingly, stunningly effective. Stick it behind either in this area right here by the 2 garrisons, and well, this garrison nobody ever uses, or even putting as farther south as being like on this bank right here. It controls a very, very big area, and that's going to be a big, big problem for the Germans, at least until they can get some earlier light vehicles on the map. Rear echelons have dove through and have cut off the German fuel. That's a big problem right there as well, but doesn't look like the Americans really have things under control now, does it? They haven't necessarily gained their fuel just yet, and while the Kubelwagen is falling back in the face of that firepower, the rear echelons are not in really, really great shape. But then again, for them, there is that mortar is starting to unload on that garrison, and that will see the Volksgrenadiers being forced back PDQ. Question really is, what is going to be Gyunwoo's next move? If it's not a retreat out of this Volksgrenadier squad right here, I'm going to actually maybe send him away for a Section 8 discharge here. Riflemen are going to move up in the wake of that covering fire. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a mech regiment coming out of Gyunwoo. May not be the best call. As of right now, these Germans, the Volksgrenadiers in that particular garrison, are looking to get picked up. And I really don't want to see that happen, because seeing a squad wipe this early could be a big, big loss. Yeah, they got to get out of there now. Only 1 model left. If he gets unlucky, that model is going to get taken out, and it looks like it's going to be first blood to the Americans. He's going to barely... Oh my gosh. That was like the absolute perfect retreat timing. I actually have to be impressed by that one. In the south, it will be a 1-to-1 cap in terms of VPs. Germans have lost about 25 tickets already, but not too much of a loss there. And Lucky Strike has actually decided to go for a lieutenant. It seems the lieutenant is getting a little bit more love these days, as Winter Balance is looking to kind of bring him back into some primacy here. And now it looks like the Germans are looking to return the favor. The Americans have both fuel points taken, but the Germans say, yo, I don't care, man, and they decap the strategic point just outside the U.S. base. But yeah, it's going to be a mech regiment fairly far forwards, I would assume. I'd be very, very surprised to see a battle group headquarters at this point. Now, it wouldn't be a bad call. I mean, the German infantry has been taking quite a beating so far on this map. So I can't tell if Gyunwoo is really being too concerned about that. Mysteriously enough, this thing is still not being teched up. And it looks like the Americans are going to bring on a 50 cal. So a big, big departure coming out, obviously, from that normal build order. But when the Americans don't seem to have a whole lot of issue when it comes to income for fuel, you do see they're getting 30 fuel per minute. And it is, in fact, going to be the battle group headquarters. So I'm wondering if the OKW player has something a little bit different up his sleeve. Other than his arms, that is. But in the immediate engagement, he's going to be under an intense amount of firepower. You see, this lieutenant is going to start treating fire rather effectively with the Volksgrens. That BAR gives him a delicious edge in firepower that the Germans really can't handle. And with the support of that mortar, it's going to be difficult for him to stand up to that kind of firepower. Kubelwagen to the north is going to go and at least decap this fuel point. May not cap it necessarily, but it could be interesting nonetheless to see that. And it looks like we're also going to see an AA half-track coming out for the Americans. That's very, very uncommon these days. Usually you're going to see that Stuart Rush, and we've talked about that in the US meta video I put out a little while ago. But why worry about that if you have 50 cal in this garrison? And frankly, you have a crazy, crazy amount of indirect fire support with that mortar. Either way, we are going to see it. Gyunwoo is going to go for that scavenge doctrine, calling some Jaeger lights as we speak. Question is, where is it coming in? Oh, they're coming in right back here, looking to really put pressure on the deeper part of the American war machine, and are going to be able to do so. We will see the mortar pushed back, and rear echelons and the lieutenant are all retreating, as well as a second squad? No, one squad anyway, at least to the riflemen. Nevertheless, very interesting move to go and put the battle group headquarters, first of all, so close. And then as well, oh my gosh, we're going to see a dead 50 cal here? Oh my gosh, this is quite a coup. He's going to go down. If he goes down, wow, the 50 cal goes down. At least he didn't give up the weapon over to the Germans, because that would be pretty bad for this soft skin half-track right here. But there is a Raketenwerfer on the field. The question is, oh, it's a little further back just yet. But the half-track is moving up to the north, looking maybe to put more pressure again on the German expansion fuel. And won't have too much of a problem being able to do that. Looks like he's just going to support the rifleman squad, give him a nice base of fire to fall back on as necessary. But interestingly enough, the Germans have been able to secure the American fuel, so we're in a very topsy-turvy game here right now. 830 in, 430 to 500. The Americans are doing a pretty good job of kind of pushing the edges of the map, but the Germans, for some reason, have been able to take back territory that's just usually not theirs. The southern part of the map usually goes about, Germans take from here down to this munitions point. But any further than that tends to be kind of a mishmash of territory trading back and forth. But hey, 9 minutes in, and the Americans do have themselves a rather good lead. Almost 80 tickets. It's going to be definitely probably about closer to 90 or 100, I would imagine. Before the Germans, oh, never mind, I was going to say before they take back the points. But the Kubelwagen is down here, another uncommon thing, so a lot of strange things happening in this game so far. Half-track is fairly far forwards, and so is his ammo, dear God. So battle group headquarters is super far forwards. The Americans say, hey bro, anything you can do, I can do better. And they go pretty far forwards here. ISG is going to come out, though, for the Germans. And it looks like they'll be able to trade firepower pretty effectively around the middle section of this map, which is a very, very good thing and a very, very bad thing about indirect weapons on the map, is that while you can concentrate your firepower basically to wherever your opponent is, with the kind of limited pathing his infantry can really go for, these causeways, for example, are a death trap. Germans are going to be able to do the same thing to you, and we're going to see that happening pretty darn soon. But Kattenwerfer doesn't get a line of sight onto this half-track, and probably lucky for the half-track. But it doesn't seem to bother the Germans overly much. Oh no, but rear echelon's going to stumble on top of them. That's not going to be a moderate problem right there. ISG reveals itself and starts throwing down rounds on top of that rifleman squad. Might even see them fall back. Nope, just a soft retreat. Even though they lose like another model on their way back home. Rear echelons are going to get into this garrison to the north, previously owned by the Germans. But hey, you know, all's fair in love and war. It seems the Americans are just going to hug as many of these buildings as possible. And I get the sense we're going to be seeing another upgrade. It's a captain. So Lucky Strike is going full officer corps here. One of he's going to go for that, maybe the rifle company at the end, get those easy 8s. Or if you're just looking to play a late game to get some Pershings, perhaps, the heavy cap company. We'll see about that, though. Nevertheless, it does seem that the Germans themselves are getting taken out one by one in these infantry fights. And Lucky Strike, yep, he's going to go for the heavy cap company, so he doesn't need to be too concerned about his armored presence, assuming, of course, he can get to that late game. But as of right now, he's in firm control of really where things are going here. Rifleman squads and rear echelon squads are putting tons of firepower into all these German troops, and they get forced back again and again. And I'm trying to think about how I'd respond if I was Gyunwoo. I would be going to get at least one bit of machine gun out there. They're going to see the Rakettenwerfer gets decrewed, and if the Americans get up there on time, they could steal the only bit of AT that's really on this map. But no, it seems instead that this Breakwater Volksgrenadier squad is going to be super, super brave. And is really putting a... Oh my gosh, takes on an American squad on that one too. So first real squad wipe, that can't be recruited anyway, does actually go to the Germans. And that's definitely a surprise in my mind. ISG mucking in as well, putting firepower into these riflemen. And if the riflemen are not... never mind, there they go. I was going to say, if they're not careful, they're going to find themselves on the KIA list.
A capture point is being overrun.
Vehicle crew. Ah, yes, the half-track crew. Why they're repairing right there is a little bit beyond me. Maybe a little further north. Oh my, never mind, folks. There's a mine underneath that. I'm happy we got to see that. I didn't expect that to actually go on, though. Looks like the Sturmpilots put down a mine a little bit earlier, and kaboom, kaboom. That is the end of them. Question is now, though, can the Germans take out this last guy before they get away and keep control of the Rakettenwerfer? No, they can't. No, they can't. They give it away. And now we have some Rangers on the map as well. And those Thompsons are brutally effective in the close combat that we will see here. But the Sturmpilots seem to be putting down some more of their deadly trade. Shoe mines going left, right, and center. But if these Volksgrens aren't careful, they're going to find themselves getting whooped as well. And yep, it's have yourself a merry little Christmas of lead. They're just putting tons of firepower to all the Germans here. But the Germans have managed to get a trip cap. So 417 to 446, 1337 in. We are elite in terms of game time. We're even more elite thinking about where the German control is on the map. What happened a very, very weak start for Gyunwoo is definitely getting far, far better. And I'm wondering if Lucky Strike knows that mine is there as well. It does look like he's flirting with the idea of taking back portions of the map. Seems like he's also canceled that captain. So maybe we'll see instead a major coming out fairly soon. Hasn't happened yet, but now that's the captain. It's a good call to actually cancel that captain. At this point, the Stuart would be very, very ineffective between Panzerfausts and a very, very easily obtained now Flak Panzer, which he knows his opponent's definitely packing. It would not be a great idea. Never mind, there goes the Kubelwagen, poor guy. It would not be a good idea to bring a light tank onto the map. Though the Flak Panzer is not an ideal light vehicle killer, still, its efficiency can't be denied, and that's a very, very good thing to notice. What I did mention also in kind of talking to you guys about is the Schwerpanzer headquarters is out on the map. And though it can't see this lieutenant right here If he gets any bit closer, starts going for the strategic point or the munitions point down here to the south, he's going to get whooped. In the north, in the meantime, we will see that riflemen will chase off Jaegers, but Sturmpiles will chase off their opposite engineer corps, and that is going to leave still a good portion of the map in German control. The question is, are we going to see an actual push to get, how do I put this? Yikes, that's a bad position for this Volksgrens. Will we be seeing a Flak Panzer, or are we going to see, so wait for a little bit longer to pick up a Panther or a P4? I'm really hoping this, never mind, there he goes. And that was a fairly vetted up squad of Volksgrens too. So Germans going down to 4 squads of infantry, and somehow those Rangers barely missed the mine that was down there. And here comes that off-map smoke barrage. So, kills the sight lines, and that's a good thing right there already. But it doesn't give them too much of an edge in firepower necessarily. You do see the Rangers are pushed back before they're really able to do too much damage. Still, a 2-to-1 cap exists for the Germans. Though it does look like the Americans are finally starting to get out some firepower. They have 1 rifleman squad, the BAR. And while everyone's in open cover, that's going to be bad news for everybody. There's beautiful physics on this game. And now it's tanks at 20 paces, and it looks like the Sturmpile squad might get picked up. No, he limps away just barely, and that's a good save right there for Gyunwoo. However, folks, this mortar team is still up and running. It's going to start dropping rounds right in this area. So one unlucky round could take out the Sturmpile squad if he's not careful.
We can now deploy a smoke screen to blind the enemy.
I'm really concerned to see. Okay, yeah, see, we're already seeing a couple of men hit here and there. ISG looks to return the favor, throws down some rounds, and just barely misses. That first round could have been devastating. Does take out a model or two there, and forces back the mortar team. Lucky indeed. Gyunwoo, in the meantime, continues to just bank that fuel. He's called in some Obersoldaten with the MG34 LMGs, and that's a good thing right there. Also, let's keep in mind he's got the infiltration grenade assault. Thankfully, you know, all that wonderful thing right there. Not that's immediately doing him a ton of good. Mostly because the Americans' micro has been pretty good in terms of infantry and being aware of when to stay and when to go. Let's just kind of put it delicately. Even more so, I have to kind of say Lucky Strike has done a good job of hitting access points and cutoff points from his opponent's resources. Would have been a little bit more efficient to hit that earlier on, but nevertheless, you can't fault him for being active on cutting things off at absolute minimum. Sturmpires, in the meantime, are going to retreat back from the face of danger. We've got a couple things of shoe mines down, but rear echelons are still in the area, and those guys still have hazard removal kits, excuse me. Also putting down a fighting position, kind of an uncommon thing to see right there. And actually kind of completely worthless when you consider a Panther's coming onto the field. But I feel like the Americans are just kind of hanging, just taking their time. Pershing's there whenever they want to get it out. Another few minutes away, though, thankfully for the German war machine. But that Panther might be able to do a fair bit of damage if the Americans are not careful. And yet again, though, we understand to note that we are going to see a massive swing in territory control. In the south, these Rangers are going to try to hang up against 2 squads of German infantry, and it's not going to go. These guys should really just start retreating right now. They will manage to get a couple of casualties down, though, but you do see them. Oh my gosh! Could I have been wrong? Are they going to take out a squad by themselves? No, instead they're getting chased away. And it looks like it's going to be a... That's not just a regular Sherman, is it? It looks like a hideous Sherman. No, it is a hideous Sherman. That silhouette looks ghastly. Americans continue to avoid all the obvious spots for mines. Lucky for them. And we're going to see grenade assault coming out at all. Be a good idea, I feel.
300 points remaining.
Major has retreated in the meantime from some of his own firepower there. Incendiary grenade goes out in the meantime as well. Doesn't do a whole lot of good. And a garrison goes down in the middle part of the map. I think it might actually hurt the German war machine more than it hurts the Americans. Americans do run afoul of one mine. One lieutenant model does go down. And shockingly enough, I have to say that this fighting position might be fairly well sighted. They have a Raketenwerfer to guide against vehicle flanks. They have indirect fire support right here. And they have rear echelon troops in here as well to throw out rifle grenades. One thing I didn't really game into it though is the fact that there are going to be, like that, tank rounds and ISG rounds coming in the meantime. Lucky Strike now is in a very, very precarious position. I thought he was in an excellent position, but that's kind of faded with the arrival of this Panther tank. Losing the fighting position is a big drop in resources of munitions, of course. And this Panther prompting this whole Sherman response, it's going to stave off, well not stave off, it's going to put back the Pershing quite a bit of time.
We're losing a capture point.
And that's a big problem right there. So 21 minutes in, 417 to 280. The Americans have the army size, just raw, like model advantage itself. And we'll have that again once these troops get back in their tank. But the Germans, shockingly enough, might have a slight edge in quality. The Obersoldaten are not being, as effective as they could be, but neither are they being slouches. And if the Americans don't get any Zooks on their squads, we're going to continue to have some problems here. This Raketenwerfer sliding up, trying to support its infantry. But, yeah. A round or two is going to come in from the Raketenwerfer, but not a whole lot of damage gets done. One good thing still about the Americans is that their BARs will continue to trade rather effectively, especially against the lower tier, lower veterancy tier anyway, German infantry. Riflemen to the north, these guys have been around a fair bit of time, been around the block, but not quite able to stand up to this piece of German engineering. Sherman, in the meantime, doesn't back off quite far enough and just starts throwing rounds into him. Bounces off his armor a couple of times. He's going to be forced back again. He cannot hang with a Panther, and there's a reason for that. That Panther is a death machine. So the question becomes, can the American AT stand up to that giant killing machine that exists right now for the Germans? Given the current kind of positioning of the AT, I don't think that's really going to happen too easily. Certainly not without the investment of some Zooks or things like that. More mines are down in the field, but in the meantime, for the Germans, a mine detector is going to come up for the Americans, staving off a couple of losses here and there. In the north, this Jaeger squad is going to be able to chase off these riflemen, and in doing so, will be able to take that fuel point again away from the Americans. They have seized their own expansion back, but it's not going to be too easily sneezed at in terms of just raw territory lost. Rangers are in this house, so this could be a big loss. Are the Americans going to be able to get out in time? Well, they're going to shred that ISG, and then they're going to book it out of there back to home territory. In the meantime, the Sherman has run over a mine. He has got damaged engine, and I believe this is going to be a dead tank. Main gun destroyed. Smoke barrage comes down, but it's way too late, and it's not going to come down where it needs to be. And yep, that gets brewed up. But the tank crew survives, and that's an important thing, right? I don't know, I think it might be. There's M3 grease guns. Some of the damage potential is lost, but it's still pretty solid as a fighting unit, I mean, more or less. Meantime, riflemen who are not quite fully vetted up are going to run afoul of the most vetted up squad in the German army, a 5-star veteran Volks squad. And the Americans right now cannot lose their very talented squads. That mortar just barely making out of there alive. Rangers ibid on that one. And in the south, it looks like the Major is for some reason trying to hold some territory against the encroaching blue tide. A little confused on that one myself, but okay. Germans are also going to throw down a mechanized regiment headquarters super far forwards, looking to keep this guy healthy as much as possible. And when that happens, he'll be working his way towards a King Tiger, and if that happens, well, ain't nobody going to be ready there. Major, though, continues to be fighting the good fight, and it may not be really what he wants to be doing. I mean, 3 guys, one of them armed with a pistol, is not the most effective use of firepower. But in the north, it seems like the Americans are trying and threatening again to put another breakout. Germans, for their own part, put down a 105 barrage. Oh my gosh, the left hand's going right back through this. Oh my gosh, this could be bad. Oh, this could be also really bad.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
There's half a squad, and one more unlucky hit. No, the riflemen make it out of the beaten zone just barely. In the south, though, this major is probably going to go down. In fact, the major himself is already dead. And there goes the last one. Now, Sturmpayos are trading pretty darn well against the rear echelons, and that's just kind of not unexpected. The rear echelons have the first bit of soft AT on the map, picking up a Zook, but yeah, they got to make it out of there right now. But as do the Sturmpayos, who get aced almost by a very, very good mortar shot. We're just seeing happen again and again. It's 417 to 195, and the Americans just not able to hang against this Panther. Given the current state of fuel income, it's going to be another, what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes before the Americans can get their Pershing onto the map. And I can't help but wonder if it would not have been better to just wait to get that Pershing in there as opposed to being super, super excited by getting a tank out there. And 2630 and Gyunwoo has recovered nicely and continues to do so. In the north, he's probably going to take a fair bit of damage as this lieutenant moves forwards with his grenade, which I guess has never been researched. It's more than a bit of a problem there. I did see a grenade come up before, but I guess it was the cooked pineapple from the Rangers there. And finally, though, that lieutenant is going to be 3 stars of veterancy, and the Jaegers are not going to do too well against that. In the south, though, the Schwerpanzer headquarters is just barely not seeing these riflemen, and now after seeing them, puts 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, and this rifleman squad might even go down between all this extra firepower. Yep, there he goes, and that's a BAR on the field as well, so that's a big, big loss. Rakettenwerfer needs to get taken out, though, because if he gets any more shots onto the Schwerpanzer headquarters, that could be super bad. But Gyunwoo doesn't seem maybe too concerned about it. He can lose that. He still can call in the Ostwind and does so, and that Rakettenwerfer moves in just too close and gets taken out by defensive rounds. Gyunwoo, in the meantime, has not yet picked up that BAR, and I think really needs to do so. That'd be a great, great bit of firepower to add to his troops. And now adding in the Flak Panzer, I would say the Americans really should consider tapping out. Oh no, but if he hangs out another minute, we could see the Pershing on the map. And if he makes it to that Pershing, we have ourselves a game again. Rear Echelon bravely tries to stem the tide of German advance, but the rear echelons are getting butchered here. They get 3 stars of veterancy, but there's only 2 guys left. And that Zook and Mine Detector are not going to do too well against something that fires rapid firing fragmentation shells. And we are going to be super, super close to this. Again, if you can hang up for another minute, just barely take maybe a single point, we could see a resurgent American force, but Gyunwoo doesn't seem like he's going to let these guys back into the game very easily. Tosses out an incendiary grenade right by the advance of the Americans as they come in forwards. And although the Americans are definitely threatening to retake some of these positions here, it's going to be a price paid in flesh and blood. And 29:05 into this game, 417 to 72. The Germans have not really lost a ticket in the last, what, 10, 12 minutes? And look at it this way, they are all stuck back in base. All stuck back in base. The Volksbands yet again, another 5-star squad is just kind of chilling there. Yep, they take some firepower from that mortar. And there is that Pershing. Folks, we could have ourselves a game if this Pershing can be a truly devastating presence on the map. But I don't know if that'll be the case. Rear echelons, excuse me, not rear echelons. Rakettenwerfer is still down there. But the Americans are just bleeding points constantly. Black Panther takes a couple of really, really solid hits, but even if he goes down, another one can be called in pretty darn quickly. And the Germans just have to trade lives for time. The Americans are trying to threaten to take back one point. They would have decap to be able to do decently well with that. And threatening to take back a second one, so all the Germans have to do is really, though, is push back these Rangers, and we'll be able to do so, I imagine. Smoke barrage is going down, but smoke works both ways, and those Volksbrandts get in there just in time, and I imagine those Rangers are gonna want to have a little bit of R&R after this. 50 cal has not really done a whole lot. Man, he's barely gotten a couple of bursts of firepower. Second one, actually. First one did die in that church a long time before. Is forced back as well, and I'm wondering if Lucky Strike would not have been, again, would not have been better just to wait for this Pershing to come out 10 minutes ago. Instead of really going for that Pershing, instead of going for the Sherman, excuse me, going for the Pershing, waiting for that would have been a much, much better option. And a one-on-one fight would have been able to take the Panther really quite easily when he still had a lot more veteran troops.
Pull everyone back. We're down to 10 points.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that was going to happen, and indeed, yep, Lucky Strike decides to tap out. So, yep, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Gyunwoo is going to pick it up in 31 minutes and 12 seconds. And, yeah, that was actually a very, very good comeback. The initial points in that game, we saw a lot of American control on the sides, but the Germans did pack it in over here right on the center part of the map, and were able to pull out the big W there. Very interesting positioning of the German trucks, and I have to note that as well. Not a very standard position, especially even on this map, but one that's definitely been able to play out successfully in this match. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This is going to be Connor Ulrich signing off. I will see you all soon. You all have a great day. Take it easy.